Hi, I'm Jules and welcome to another video. So audio is one of those things that isn't talked about anywhere near as much as people talking about cameras and lenses and fun things like drones and gimbals and things like that. Now, that's a mistake, and the video is intended to explain why and why audio is so important, but it's also about going through all these different options, and all of these options are things that I own and things that I have used, and so I can give you a insight and experience into all of them for capturing audio at weddings. When we're looking at why audio is so important to wedding films and wedding videography, we only have to look at, real filmmaking, so Hollywoods and independents, and how if they didn't have the audio in there, if they didn't have sound effects, if they didn't have music, if they didn't have dialogue, or if the dialogue, the music and the audio sound effects were bad, how that would affect your experience of watching that film. These are people's memories and they're going to want to hear what was said. So whether you're interested in, doing a more cinematic type edit where you're going to put sound effects and audio into the actual storytelling of the film, rather than just use music, or even if you're just going to be delivering ceremony and speeches edits where the audio is going to be the main part of that, listening to what people said is going to be like, a huge part of that. It's really important that you spend some time understanding how to capture audio and invest a little bit of your money into it. I mean, you could say that with a film, 50% of it is the actual audio, whether that's the music and sound effects or whether that's the dialogue. So it's not something that you can really overlook. And the great thing is compared to spending money on cameras and lenses and gimbals and drones and lighting equipment, spending money on audio is actually reasonably cheap. You can get some great results for quite a small investment. Now, the idea behind this video is for me to compare all of these different audio sources, different microphones and sound recorders that I've invested in and I've used, so that I can give you the kind of information that you need to make the right decision for what you should invest your money in. And to be fair, depending on what you're actually trying to produce, you might find that you can do it very cheaply. You can invest a small amount in audio and it will make a massive difference to your films. So just briefly, I just wanted to kind of go into how they record audio in proper movies, proper films. Now, what they're going to have is a significant budget. They're going to have a significant team of people that are just focusing on capturing the audio, and they're going to be able to have a lot of time and planning and be able to place people exactly where they want to be. So let's take a film that's going to be filmed on a film set, and you might have 2, 3, 4 people that are just recording the audio, and that's usually going to be done using a boom mic. And by having a team of people that are monitoring the audio, that are actually recording the audio, they're going to be able to get great results. And on that set, you're going to be able to control things like the noise. So they're going to be able to stop any background noise from being there. And they're going to have time to recapture it. So if something messes up, it's not like you've only got that one chance like you have at a wedding. So recording audio is very different in a wedding situation. It's live, we can't do it again, you can't control the environment. Basically, you get thrown whatever you get thrown, the cards that you've been dealt, and you have to try and do your best. So one of the things that I think when I was starting out I used to worry about was it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. What you have to do is you have to try and do the best with what you've got, and you have to try and capture multiple sources so that, depending on the circumstances, A, you've got backups, and B, depending on what happens, one source might end up being better than the one that you thought was going to be the best source. So you might have gone, right, I'm going to use this source, and then something happens that's out of your control because it's a live situation, and then you end up having this other source that you weren't going to use that ends up being the one that you do use because it's better. So as well as going through and comparing and contrasting the sound quality that you get out of all these microphones, I'm going to at the end give you a bit of a summary and a conclusion of how I record audio at weddings. So let's get into it. Now, first of all, what I'm going to do is discuss the three categories of what I class as groups of audio for recording at weddings. So the first one is on camera. Now, your camera have got microphones built in, so you can capture good background audio from just in your camera. And even though some people don't like that, I actually think on a lot of occasions it ends up giving, if you're going to use it to layer underneath any dialogue, it actually works much better than trying to capture it on something else, because it's quite a wide pattern. And I'm not going to go into like the detail of how audio works and sound waves and everything, but it's quite a wide pattern that it's capturing, so it sounds really good as background noise. But it's not just the microphones and the cameras that you can use. You can put plug microphones into the camera. So for instance, something like this we'll use as a microphone that we'll put on top of the camera, cast as a shotgun mic, and then we plug it into the 3.5mm jack, and that's going to get us audio that's going to be of a better quality. And because these shotgun mics have got a different noise pattern, they basically are capturing what's in front of the microphone. They're not capturing everything that's around it, so you're going to get a more focused and specific sound pattern from these. And that's why most wedding videographers historically have liked to use these. This is a fairly cheap one. This is the Rode Video Mic Micro, and we've also got the Video Mic Pro, what I'm recording the audio on here. And so those are the main sources that you will find on camera, as in, you're putting it on the camera and you're capturing the audio from where you are with the camera. Now, the next category is off camera, and I refer to these as more recorders that you would place somewhere, or you would plug into something. So they're going to capture audio from a particular location. So these here are what I would class as off-camera recorders. So I can place this on this table and it will capture all the audio around it, and you can have different patterns. So with this one specifically, you can change the pattern of how it's going to record it. So it'll either record a stereo XY pattern, which is just kind of going to be around the round part, the front of this, or you can have more of a surround sound, so that it'll capture everything from around it. It's actually got 4 microphones in it, this one, and so it'll capture. You can actually capture an ambisonic, which is kind of a surround sound 360 type recording with it. I'm not suggesting you're going to do that for a wedding though. Now, the thing about the off-camera stuff is that it's very versatile, in that you could just take a recorder and place it somewhere. For example, you might, I have before placed it in like a bouquet of flowers, or hidden it on a lectern or something like that. And that's going to really depend on, knowing that somebody is going to be stood near that, who's going to be speaking, and they're going to be stood fairly close to it for you to get a decent audio from that. The other option is to use something like this that has some inputs, some XLR inputs. So this H4n, Zoom H4n, it has got microphones built in, but you can also input microphones into it, and then what it becomes is not an actual microphone, but just a recorder. So some people like to plug into a PR system. Some people like to plug into a PA system, or like the DJ equipment, and capture what's coming through a microphone. Now, you can do that, but there are some issues with it, which I will go into. And so you've got to be careful that that's not the only source of audio you've got, because on a lot of occasions you'll find that it doesn't really get you the results that you were hoping for. Okay, and then the last bit is on person, and that's where we're clipping a microphone to somebody and we're going to be recording everything that they basically say, and wherever they go, it's going to record the audio where they are. So as opposed to the off-camera stuff or the on-camera stuff, which is dependent on your camera or your recorder being near them, if it's on person, it's always going to be capturing everything that they say. And that's why on camera is probably my preference for weddings. And there's numerous different options in all of these categories, and that's what I'm going to go into now. Okay, so we're going to go through and test the on and off camera microphones now. One of them, the VideoMic Pro, is plugged in up here on like this boom arm, so I'm not going to start moving that. But you're going to get, this is going to be closer to me, and that's why it's on the boom. And so this is why this is going to be the best source of audio, but you're not going to have that option necessarily at a wedding. But what I will say is there's not a massive amount of difference. Yes, a tad bit of difference in quality between that and the VideoMic Micro, which is on the camera there, and I'll switch to that in a second. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I've got memory cards and batteries in, and what I'll do is set them all recording. I've changed the level so that they're all of a similar, they're all similar in how they're set up and the levels that they're recording at. So if we set them going, and I'll put them all similar amount of away from me to check they're not peaking. Yeah, they all look okay. And what I'll do is I'm going to turn that microphone off now, and I'm going to switch to the one that's on top of this camera. So, okay. And also over here, we've got another camera, and that one has got just the inbuilt microphones on the camera. So they're all about the same distance away. So I'm going to go through it, and this is coming from the inbuilt microphone on the camera, which is over there. This is coming from the microphone, the VideoMic Pro, which is on a camera just there. This is coming from the VideoMic Pro, which is running through a Rode Wireless Go into that camera there. Testing the Zoom H1, the Zoom H1. Testing the Zoom H2N, the Zoom H2N. Testing the Zoom H4N, the Zoom H4N. Testing the Zoom H4N, the Zoom H4N. So you can see that we've got at the moment 6 different audio sources that I would class as on and off camera. So the microphones, the VideoMic Pro, the Video Micro, and the camera, the camera's internal microphones on that Sony A9, which should be technically the best ones out of all the cameras I've got, because it's the most expensive camera. So we can see the difference between all of them. Yes, the VideoMic Pro is going through a wireless transmitter, so there might be some difference there, but I just wanted to do that to explain. Also, what I should say is that this room is very quiet. It's got a very low ceiling made of special ceiling tiles that do reduce a lot of like reverb and things, so I wouldn't say I've treated the environment for the audio to be better, but this is better than what you would get in most echoey places, so it's not typical of what you would have at a wedding. Okay, so now quite amusingly, I have attached all the on-person microphones to my t-shirt, which isn't really the tightest of t-shirts, quite a baggy one. So I now look like some kind of 80s medallion man with my chest hair, the really wispy, you know, excuse for chest hair that I've got. But basically, I've got all these different microphones on my t-shirt. Now, hopefully on someone at a wedding, they'd have a tighter fitting shirt with pockets or a tie or something that you could clip things to, so that it didn't look as ridiculous as this. But obviously, I'm just doing this as an example. So right now, I'm recording on-person microphones into all of them. They're all like kind of strapped in the same area, and the idea being that they'll all be getting the same pattern of audio. So you've got to imagine if I was talking and I'm speaking at a wedding, this is what you're going to get. This microphone being fairly close to my mouth, and even if I turn my head, it will change it slightly, but most of what I'm speaking will be recorded clearly. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to be testing the one that's going into the camera, which is the Rode Video wireless mic. What the frick's it called? The wireless mic, Rode wireless mic Go. Really sorry, but it gets really complicated with all those acronyms, which is this one. So testing, tap, 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 testing the Rode wireless Go. I'm now testing the Sony TX650, testing the Sony TX650. Zoom H1 with a lav mic, which is the Rode Smart Lav, testing wireless Smart Lav. I'm then going to be testing the Tascam DR10L with the lav mic, tap, 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 testing Tascam DR10L. Then we're going to be testing the Snide, don't even know what it's called, tap, 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 Chinese thing. Then I'm going to be testing the Instamic, tap, 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 testing the Instamic. Then I'm going to be testing the Sony TX800, tap, 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 testing Sony TX800. And last but not least, I've switched over the Rode Smart Lav so that it's now hooked up to my iPhone 11, so it's going into the voice memos thing. Excuse me, just to test how that works as a realistic option. So testing Smart Lav plugged into iPhone 11 using voice memo app. Okay, so I'm not saying that's the most accurate scientific way to test all of those audio sources, and so that you get a real feel for what they would sound like. But what I've done there is just done untreated. Apart from if I've slightly got the volumes different, I've tried to make them all the same volume so that you could hear that properly, and not changing any of the EQ or putting anything on them, because I just wanted you to hear what they sound like raw. And the idea being is that you can get a real flavour then for what each microphone or sound recorder is going to give you in terms of like basic audio straight out of the box. It's obviously a very kind of big topic, and we could, with all these different recorders, we could go into a lot of detail and depth, and we could talk about them all individually and all the features and functions and things that you need to know about them. But what I would like to do is wrap this video up for now, and then in another video talk about the individual pros and cons of using different ones, not necessarily about them all. The idea of this video was to give you the opportunity to hear what all the audio sounded like, and now I'm going to explain in another video what I would use and how I would use it to capture audio on a wedding day. I'm Jules, thanks for watching, and if you want to see the next video that talks about some of these pieces of audio equipment in more detail, and please like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and then you'll know when that video comes out. Take care.